Hello my lovelies, welcome to my channel. If it's your first time here in this safe space, then welcome. My name's Mandy and it's amazing to have you here with me. If you've been here before, if you are returning because you've watched my videos before, then welcome back and thank you so much for your support. We're back in the lounge today. I'm having a day off from creating. We're having a nice chill out today. Well, I'm saying chill out. Done a bit of, the boring housework and stuff like that. Things that have got to be done. So yeah. So that being said, let's get into today's chat. So grab yourself a drink of choice, whatever that may be. Let's get comfy. Let's get cozy. It's been a bit of a rubbish day weather-wise. It's actually okay now. I think the storm's actually passed over now, but this morning was a bit rubbish. But we don't need an excuse to get under the cozy blankets and throws, do we? So let's do it. Let's have a chat. So today I thought I'd cover living alone. It's something that I've done now, I'm going to say, for a number of years, and all will become clear. So myself and my ex-husband split up 2.5 years ago. Another story for another day, I think. And obviously, since we split up and he moved out, I've lived on my own, and quite frankly, I've absolutely loved it. Now, when I say that I've lived on my own for a number of years, the reasoning behind that is while me and the ex-husband were actually still together, he worked away during the week and was only home at weekends. So although we kept in touch regular, you're obviously still doing everything yourself. You're doing the cooking, you're doing the cleaning, you just everyday life, you're going through kind of on your own. Obviously, if you've had a bad day or there's emergencies or whatever, you've got support there. You've got people that you can speak to. But then again, no husband, you've probably got friends who would step into that role. My friend circle is very, very, very small, but that is through my choice. Again, probably another chat for another day. So I kind of feel that when it eventually did happen that me and the ex split up, it wasn't massively difficult for me to transition into living alone. Now, it might be different for a lot of people out there. It might be different for a lot of you watching today. It might be that you have split up from a partner or a husband or a wife, and you are finding it difficult to adjust to being on your own, because a lot of people tend to build their relationships between the two of them. So you tend to find, and it might not be a conscious decision to do it, but you might find yourselves not going out separately as much anymore. So, sort of the wife going out on a Friday night with her girls and the lads going out together on a Saturday night. It doesn't seem to happen as much anymore. It seems to be that couples tend to, I don't know, that maybe this is just the way I see it. I don't know. But they tend to have their relationship and build it around themselves. And I'm not saying that you block anybody else out of that, but you just tend to do a lot more together. So when you haven't got that anymore, it can be a massive shock to some people. And you find that, and I also found this when me and my ex split up, and I'm not one for drama. I'm not one for telling people things that really go on in my life, because you'll get the fake people that are, oh, I'm ever so sorry, oh, but what happened, and they just want the gossip so they can go off and they can tell somebody else, or they're really not that interested. So I mean, obviously close friends, no, but other than that, I was very reluctant to tell other people, because it wasn't their business, to be honest. And I didn't want to have to, I was going to say explain myself, but at the end of the day, I did nothing wrong. So there was no need for me really to say that. So scrap that. But you'll find that even if you have a circle of friends, that splitting up from a partner is a big thing in people's lives, and it's very, very similar to losing somebody through death. You go through a process of grieving, and obviously, depending on what kind of relationship you've had, I mean, you might be quite grateful that you're no longer with your partner. There are certain situations out there where you're probably glad to be free of them. But if you have had that quite intense relationship with your partner, husband, wife, whatever, we'll just stick with partner for now, so I don't offend anybody. But if you have had that very close relationship where you have a very, very small circle of friends, so you tend to do a lot of things together, it can be a really, really big shock to the system. So you will spend some time in a grief-like state. And although it helps you to kind of talk about it, you'll probably find that friends, family, you kind of see it in them. They're sort of, oh God, this again, thought we'd got over that, blah, 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 blah. And you just pick up them kind of vibes. So eventually you stop talking about it. So then you don't really then have anywhere to go. And grief is, you can't put a time limit on grief, whether it is actually down to a death or whether it is down to the death of a relationship. You can't put a time scale on it. It's absolutely different for everybody. And you normally find that these friends that, they can be quite dismissive after a certain length of time. But then when it happens to them, it's all drama, and, they expect you to be there to listen to them. And maybe I just need to stop expecting people to be the same as me. Maybe that's what I need to stop doing. So yeah, it's difficult, because then you've lost your outlet to kind of have your therapy and talk it through, which can be really difficult for some people. And some people become very withdrawn, and it's a shame, really. I mean, personally, I've absolutely loved it. But it wasn't such a difficult transition for me, because my ex-husband actually worked away during the week, and he was only home at weekends. So even during that week, even though, if there was something urgent, obviously I'd ring him at the time. If it was something that could wait, then I'd tell him sort of later on when he phoned round tea time when he'd finished work. So the transition wasn't that bad for me, because he was only home at a weekend. Now, I'm not going to go too much into the relationship and what happened, but I had, I'll just say it straight, because I said that it was going to be a very raw channel. So I'll just say it. I had a lot of suspicions over the years that we were together, and towards the end of the relationship, I've got to admit I wasn't quite as invested in it as maybe I should have been. So it kind of, when he came home at a weekend, I was then getting to the point where I kind of resented it a little bit, because I then didn't have my time, because I felt, because I hadn't seen him all week, that I had to, spend my time in the lounge with him, catch up on things. And that obviously wasn't reciprocated, because he'd just sit there on his laptop or playing FIFA or whatever. So it wasn't, but then again, he's been away all week. He obviously missed playing FIFA and his computer games. So yeah, it was a relief, to be honest, towards the end. So the last 2.5 years, although difficult at the beginning, even though I would say 70% prepared for it, it was still quite difficult. And it was still kind of difficult to tell people what had gone on, because even though none of it was my fault, I felt a little bit of shame, I suppose. But yeah, just as time has gone on, I love being on my own. Now, I like being alone, but I can honestly say I am never ever lonely. I've never felt lonely. I'm very good being in my own company. I'm an only child. And I have had to entertain myself as a child. So as an adult, I find it quite easy. I mean, granted, there are some evenings or days where, yeah, you get a little bit bored, but I never feel lonely. Although sometimes I do feel alone, just me and the dog. And I really do apologise if you can hear snoring in the background. It is just the dog. He's here on the sofa under a blanket, and he's snoring his little head off because he's nice and cosy. So yeah, if you hear that in the background, I do apologise. It's not me farting or anything, I promise. So yeah, so I personally have found it quite easy, but I can understand that there are people that are out there that haven't. And you can't, obviously, with friends that, get to the point where it's like, oh God, we're still going on about this. I'm not saying choose your friends more wisely. Some people have things going on themselves that they don't always share with the friends. So maybe people just haven't got brain space to sort of deal with it at the time. Which is a shame, because like I say, if anything happens to them, they want the help through it. And we're not of the nature where we just turn around and say, well, you weren't there for me, so I'm not going to be there for you. It's just not the way, is it? Although I suppose there are some people that are out there that would be like that, I suppose, but hey ho. So it just kind of gets me to thinking, that if you don't have that support network, because there will be people out there that maybe don't have friends, that the only friends that they have are maybe work colleagues. They don't actually have any, friends out of work or out of maybe, going playing football or out of college, whatever. So I can understand that would then become difficult, especially if you don't have family who live close by or you're not very close with your family. So I could then only suggest that, I mean, there are phone lines that you can, I'm not talking about those sort of phone lines, but by all means, if they help you, crack on, sunshine. But no, there are, there's the Samaritans, there's all sorts of, maybe I should have Googled this a little bit more before I'm coming on and talking about this. Maybe I should have done a little bit of research. But there are people that you can phone up and you can have that chat with and just get it off your chest. Or alternatively, get yourself a little YouTube channel and get it off your chest that way. But yeah, again, it's just going to be another one of those videos where, and probably a lot of my videos will be, please don't feel like you're going through it alone. You're not on your own. You won't be the first person to get a divorce. You won't be the last person to get a divorce. You won't be the first person to find it difficult, and you won't be the last person to find it difficult. But if you do, just reach out, even if it's to me. Just email me, drop me a message down below, just let me know. But if anybody else has kind of been through a separation or a divorce from the long-term partner, then again, it doesn't have to be, long-term, does it? Even sometimes just being together for sort of 7 or 8 months, if it's been quite an intense relationship and all of a sudden it finishes, again, it can knock you for 6. And if you find that you just don't have that support network to talk to help you through it, please do just reach out. I've got links below. I'm actually on Twitter, so you can always DM me on Twitter. You can send me an email. Seriously, if anybody just needs to offload, they just need a little bit of support, I'm always here. I'm always an ear away. And I'm not saying, by any means am I qualified to talk about things like this, but it's life and it's experience. Some have had it, some haven't. Some have had it more than others. But it's just helping where you can with the people who have never had to go through it before. Even just going back to sort of my nan and granddad, who were married for a long, long time. I think they'd been married for 40 or 50 years by the time granddad died. And then, nan was sort of left on her own until she passed. She never found another relationship. And she came and moved in with us after granddad died. So she had that support group there. But that's a long, long time to be with somebody. And I mean, my granddad died, he got cancer. So it was difficult for her because she saw the man that she loved suffer and go through that horrible process that cancer does to you. And it's horrendous to then suddenly be without the love of your life, without your support network. It's just, it must be awful. And that's just coming from the fact that, I had somebody in my life for 16 years And when you're starting doubling that and even more, it can be difficult to navigate daily life without having that sort of daily phone call to offload onto. And I think that was my biggest thing of suddenly being thrown back into totally being on my own. Because like I say, even though he worked away all week, he'd phone me every tea time. So we'd have that conversation where we'd talk the day through. So if you'd had a really crappy day, you know, you knew that you were going to be talking to somebody. So it kind of alleviates it a little bit once you've talked about it, doesn't it? It stops it from just continuing to play on your mind and make your day even worse. And I think that's the bit that I missed the most, was being able to come home and just say to somebody, oh my God, what a day. Let me put the kettle on. We'll have a chat about it. And that was the biggest thing I missed, to be honest. Like I say, I've got a very, very small circle of friends. So, you know, now and again, if it was a really, really bad day, I'd just get onto Messenger and I'd leave a little voicemail for my mate just saying, ooh, that was a bit of a bad one. Any chance you've got 5 minutes just to talk it through? And she'd be there and she'd say, absolutely. And she has been an absolute godsend for the last few years. She really has. And I hope that some of you out there have that support group too, even if it's just one friend who will allow you to do that. If you've no friends, and like I say, you know, there's always phone lines out there that you can contact. But if you don't want to, sometimes just sitting, and this is going to sound really like I've lost the plot, but sometimes I just used to sit and I used to talk to myself, and I'd kind of talk through the problem, but just because I talked it out to, I don't know, you know, to the universe, to the whatever you want to say, however woo-woo you want to go. But I would just talk it out. Sometimes I would actually record it, but I wouldn't send it to anybody. I'd just record it, just so I could get it off my chest, because I really do think that talking does help. You know, despite all those adverts in the 70s and the 80s for BT, it's right. Talking does work. Talking relieves a lot of stress. And sometimes when you're talking it through, either to somebody else or even to yourself, like I say, as crazy as it sounds, I have actually done that. And sometimes when you're talking it through, you might suddenly have a, aha, oh my God, why did I not even think of that? You might just have that moment where it's just like, oh, I've never thought of that before, or I've never thought about it that way, and that can help. That can really, really help too. So anyway, I feel like I've waffled enough. I don't know whether any of that has made sense today. Let me know in the comments, just down below. Let me know what you think. If any of you have been in a very similar situation, let me know below. Let me know how you overcame it, whether you're still going through it. Yeah, just leave some comments below. Let's encourage each other and support each other. That's basically what this challenge? It's not a challenge. Well, I don't know, you might think it's a challenge. It's not a challenge at all. This is what I intended this channel to be. Was to be a support group for people, for people who might think they're going a little crazy and that it's only happening to them, and just knowing that it's not just you that is going through it can sometimes take a little bit of that pressure off. But there might be people out there who have been through it, and and in the chat, if drop a comment in there, and hopefully some very lovely people will help you along the way and take you under the wing, and give you some good advice. So I think we'll leave that there for today. I'm sure there are other things that we can cover on this subject of living alone, on whether you feel lonely or whether you are just a case of being alone, how you deal with it, how you cope with it. Yeah, I think it's a very good subject to cover. So on that note, thank you for being here with me today. And if you've enjoyed today's content, then give it a thumbs up. And if you are enjoying my content overall, then please consider subscribing to the channel. It keeps the YouTube algorithm happy, and means that these videos might reach more lovely people just like you little lot. So take care, my lovelies. Never dim your light. And until next time, lots of love. See you soon.